Okay, so the title of my speech is using large language model to enhance case-based learning. I think I would like to share instance where I think AI has, well, I will not use the word transform or transcend, but I really think AI has improved the pedagogy of case-based learning. So today when I enter this venue, I notice those table, the layout of the classroom. It's a typical student-centered, inquiry-based learning space. And one of the most known or well-established pedagogy is case-based learning. So can anyone tell me like which field is case-based learning like first being implemented and promoted? It's in law, legal education. I think, well, at least it's widely recognized that it's the dean of Harvard Law, Dr. Christopher Landau, in 1870s, first utilized this pedagogy to teach students those legal knowledge. So the method is simple. They just pull out all those court records, it's called appellates, to help students, to discuss those cases. They play the role of defendant, prosecutors. It turned out highly effective. And this pedagogy was later implemented in the field of business, medicine, and of course, education. So I have a friend, is a doctor, so he is dedicated using case-based learning to teach medicine. So what he told me is that there are several phases of instruction. So the first phase in ancient medicine teaching, people or teachers focused on specific organ like heart and brain, leg, hand. Now they focus their attention to maybe a system like cardiovascular system, respiratory system, reproductive system, etc. But now the common standard pedagogy is to present those diagnostic cases. So the students will read the case file, examine the patient, either real patient or a simulated patient, and deliver their diagnosis. So again, it proves highly effective. So in education, it's the same, but I realized that at least in China, where I'm from, the teachers use cases a lot, but basically those cases are used as exemplars. So they tend to observe those highly, excellent teachers, how they manage the classroom, how they deliver instruction, but rarely they observe some problematic cases where maybe young teachers, they encounter some issues and problems, but sometimes they even fail in their teaching practice. But failure is also a good means to learn, to reflect. So I think where I'm from, Central China Normal University is a university focused on teacher education. So I use case-based method to prepare teachers and instructional designers a lot. All right, so there are several key activities of case-based learning. I think first you have to develop and present cases. So that's like one essential activity. You need to facilitate group discussions. So any case-based learning without discussion, I think it's not a real case-based learning. You just maybe use an example to demonstrate your point, but it's not a case-based pedagogy. And also, it's important to provide reflective opportunities. So those two activities. However, we also encounter some issues. For example, I know Dr. Peggy Ertmer from Purdue University. She and her colleagues published ID casebook where she demonstrated like 3 types of cases. Cases of education in K-12 setting, cases in corporate setting, and cases in higher ed setting. So it's a very interesting book. The first chapter, she tells a lot about the benefits and drawbacks of case-based learning. And then she presented all those cases. So I use those cases in my class, but most of them are purely text-based, like this. So after a while, I started to realize some issues. Most of those cases are text-based, static, so it presents a problem, but not necessarily present the consequences of problem. And even they do so, the consequence, the end of the story, the case story is fixed. So there's nothing you can do, to change the ending. Sometimes we'd like to see, oh, what if, as a protagonist in the case, I choose a different path, I make another decision. There's a limited interaction. So as a teacher, we have this learning management system where discussion forum is always a key component of those learning management system. We encourage our students, to post threads in the discussion forum, to interact with each other. And I have done a lot of research, figure out how to make it more meaningful and effective. But the reality is, students, they don't like to interact with each other on this discussion forum. So most of them just post their required number of posts in the last day, to just finish the assignment, but there's no real interaction, no real knowledge construction. So that is a persistent challenge, I realized. And the last one is that because of lack of meaningful interaction, we don't really have timely and quality feedback. So I remember in today's session, lots of speakers talking about the importance of feedback. So that prompted me to think, how about with the emergence of large language model, they can provide more dynamic, because it's generative AI, right? So it can generate scenarios, it can generate case endings. So how about we use that? And also it's fast, it's timely, so it can provide timely feedback. And also those large language models, they are very fast learners, and they can assume different personalities, which means they can assume different roles in those inquiry-based learning settings. So those are the three things we want to explore. We want to use AI agent to guide the learning, to play context-based roles, and to deliver timely feedback. How about that? Okay, all right. So, and of course, there are three, it managed to benefit the three essential activities, which is the case presentation, case discussion, and reflection and feedback. And underneath, I think there are also theoretical foundations support the use of AI agent for those purposes. All right, so there are two research questions. The first is that how can an AI agent facilitate case presentation and the case discussion in CBL? So this question, we try to resolve the issue of how to design a feasible, useful AI agent. And the second question is, well, I'm a person who always want to see whether it works, right? So I want to conduct an impact study compared to traditional case-based learning. Does AI-enhanced CBL improve students' learning outcomes, learning experiences, and interaction behaviors? So those are the three questions that guide my inquiry. So I think I generated a short scenario using Sora, okay? So I remember when I was finishing my PhD dissertation, the topic of my dissertation is to create multimedia cases. And it's very difficult to create those like images relevant to the case scenario. But now with the advancement of AI, it's so easy, right? And it's dynamic and it's video. So we use cases to play three roles. One is that it can become very supportive. It provide like emotional values to the students and say, yeah, what you said is exactly right, and provide some additional supporting informations. Another role is even more interesting, I think. It plays the devil's advocate, right? So whatever the students say, they will say, oh, no, that's not the way to do it. I have a second opinion. I disagree with your proposal. And sometimes students get really mad at the AI agent. So that's how I like it. And another, I think I created this role based on my image of my advisor. So she is, I think the one sentence she always want to say is that, now think, how about, so I remember that, so I create this agent. How about propose new ideas and prompt reflection? So those three roles, the AI agent will play those three roles. And also, whenever the students has analyzed the case problem and have their initial draft of the case solution, the AI agent will generate the endings of this instructional design scenario. For example, so in this video, it depicts instructional design story in a corporate setting where factory, there are lots of new workers, but some older workers are retiring. So we try to have those older workers, senior workers, to teach young workers how to operate those machinery. But the context is not ideal. The senior workers are demotivated, and there are lots of other issues and how to balance the interest of different stakeholders, etc. So it's a very complex instructional design situation. Students will submit their instructional solution, and then the AI agent will demonstrate what will happen if we follow your proposed solution. So that's very interesting, I think. So those are some of the examples of how AI agent can support viewpoints and also oppose viewpoints. Because the AI agent allow us to upload some materials like some pedagogy or instructional design theories and some sample cases to their library, so they have some material to base their responses on. So here I demonstrate an example of how students propose an instructional design solution, and the AI agent generate the consequences of that solution. So it extends the story, generated a lot of details. Sometimes it describes some potential risks that might require further instructional design or a total revamp of the instructional design. So that's one case I try to demonstrate. It's in Chinese, so I think I quickly translate it into English. There might be some translation errors in this. Another one I really want to show you is that sometimes the students will try to make a joke. They say, oh, I'm try to solve this issue from a behaviorist view of learning. So whoever didn't finish the training or didn't do well operating the machinery, I will use a ruler and strike his right hand for 100 times. Okay, so obviously it's a joke. But the AI agent will take this solution seriously. And they generate some interesting stories like, this young worker is really, everyone is appalled about this, instructional design training. And this one time, this young worker made a mistake and he's really humiliated and later even get depressed. And then maybe the workers united together and revolt against this such cruel training method. So it's very interesting. I think that's demonstrate the benefit of generative AI. It really generates based on your input. All right, so is that new way of teaching cases more effective than traditional case-based learning? We conducted a quasi-experiment, and those are 3 types of data we want to collect. First is the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes are based on our evaluation of student final instructional design plan. And we evaluated from those 5 aspects, whether it reflects systematic thinking, whether it's appropriate, whether it has divergent view of instructional design, innovative, and whether it's feasible. So I noticed our students, because when they study from the books, from the papers, they turn to approach authentic problems in a more theoretically way. But in reality, you have to think about whether it's feasible, what are the different stakeholders, how can I get them involved, all those kind of things. So that's like one thing we really want our students to learn. And of course, we want to understand their learning experience. We look at their self-efficacy of an instructional designer. We look at their evaluation of the feedback. How they feel, whether the feedback from the AI agent compared to the feedback from their peers. We want to know their engagement in terms of cognitive, emotional, and behavior engagement. And also, of course, their intrinsic motivation and the continuous intention. And the last, we also look at their interaction behaviors with the AI agent versus their interaction behavior with their peers. So those are some of our findings. The quality of instructional design, which is the learning outcome, our experimental group outperformed our control group in 4 of the 5 aspects. For example, in the appropriateness, divergent thinking, innovative ideas, and feasible consideration. It has students demonstrated superior performance. In terms of self-efficacy, I think students has general higher self-efficacy if they learn with the generative AI agent, and especially their self-efficacy to interact increased. In terms of feedback, I think overall students, their perception of feedback with the generative AI agent is higher than feedback from their peers, and especially in terms of the feedback quality. Interestingly, in terms of source credibility, students are fully aware, those feedback are from generative AI, from large language model, so they don't give it a high, credibility as a credible source. In terms of engagement, overall, students learning case-based learning with AI agent demonstrate higher engagement, especially in cognitive and emotional engagement. And in terms of learning motivation, we also see a much higher learning motivation in the experiment group. And of course, continuous intention, the experiment group also outperformed the control group in their intention to study with the same approach. We also look at the interaction behaviors, and I think it seems that when you interact with the peers on a discussion forum, the issues of low interaction and the low frequency of posting behaviors persist. However, maybe it's due to the novelty effect, but I think students, when they get a chance to interact with the AI agent, they're very dedicated. They demonstrate a much higher interaction behaviors, and also we examine their interaction behavior in the early phase, middle phase, and late phase. In each phase, they demonstrate a much higher interaction behavior. In terms of qualitative findings, I think AI-enhanced case-based learning enhanced learning outcomes through dynamic, personalized, and simulation-supported feedback. So we have interviewed several students, and they all demonstrate that it's interesting to see their solution play out in a simulated scenario. They feel as if the plan was actually being carried out. AI enhanced the case-based learning, improved learning experience through psychological ease, agentic presence, and the human-like interaction. I want to focus on one thing, that some students are really concerned to replying to other people's posts. They don't want to be offensive. They don't want to, maybe they don't want to demonstrate, oh, maybe what I said is not correct. So posting or replying to other people's posts demonstrate my weakness. So there are lots of concerns during the interview, but all those concerns are gone. So they are very proactive, and they feel very self-assured when they interact with the AI agent. And sometimes they even be even more creative, like the example of striking one's hand. Okay. AI enhanced the CBL prompted active interaction through responsiveness, relevance, and perceived authority. Another thing students mentioned is that sometimes when they posted a thread to a friend or to a peer, but this friend maybe didn't reply until like 2 days later. So the moment is gone. But in AI agent, it's always there. It's highly, responsive. It provides timely feedback. So I think that a key feature of AI, and we try to utilize that feature to support our learning. So I don't have much time. What I want to emphasize is that I totally agree with our second speaker. Like, we don't have to wait for like future generation of technology. The future is now, right? With the affordances of AI and VR, these advanced technologies, what we want to do is to really think about how to integrate them in our, routine teaching practice and to think about them in the terms of how we can really use them as part of the pedagogy. Right. Okay, that's all. Thank you.